what have you changed your mind about during the course of your life that you thought was an absolute truth, perhaps something that would not be open to debate, but things have changed? And what was it that made you change your mind?
Oh, well, uh, there have been lots of those. I, I joke that I was raised by wolves, so I don't have any allegiance to any particular thing. And my parents weren't actually wolves, but um, they brought me up with a sort of traditional conservative. They were Republicans, believed in God. So I came to question my religious faith. I certainly changed my mind about that. Um, I rejected their sort of views of tradition for a while. I was a pretty staunch feminist. Um, and then, um, well, I still hold some of those values, but feminism itself really changed. And so I'm kind of embarrassed by my feminist past. I even read some of the things I wrote, and I thought, oh, I should have been more critical. But as Christina Huff Summers argued, feminism itself has changed. It used to be for men and women together and challenging entrenched ideas and bringing up new perspectives and so on. And it's sort of changed to become much more advancing women at the expense of men and maintaining dogmas rather than challenging them. So uh, that turned me off. So I turned away from that. Many of my theories have grown and changed over time. You talked about my work on willpower and self-control. When we first came out with some of those findings, we thought well, maybe the brain is just out of fuel. It uses energy and then it doesn't have any more. But subsequent changes, no, the brain doesn't ever really run out of energy until you're dead,
Mm.
or advanced stages of starving, maybe. But it does conserve very aggressively, so that uh, these effects we have, where after exerting self control, your self control is worse at something else. Those are the body's natural attempt to conserve its energies. That theory's changed in other ways as well. Um, my views about universities and Western civilization, those have continued to change and evolve as well. Um, so,
What particularly about universities and Western civilization?
um, well, let's see. In terms of how good are American universities, I think I've probably held all, all views everywhere on the spectrum. And they may be changing again because I think the universities are changing. Um, that as they continue to lower standards and become more of a political monoculture that's all on the left, that's going to undermine their effectiveness. Now they've always leaned to the left. That was clear. I remember when I went to college at 18 and I was just surprised how many Marxists there were. I thought Marxism was a failure. Um, and I guess I still still think that. There's no rich Marxist country I know of. Um, but um, anyway, the leftist bias has always been there, but at least there were conservative voices too, and I think students really should hear at least a positive take on the value of two-parent families or loving your country or the benefits of capitalism, which, despite its faults, works better than the communist socialist alternatives. Um, and so I should be exposed to that. So
Mm.
between the lowering of standards so that students don't have to work as hard, yeah, I think quality is suffering, but uh, still American universities have been rated, along with some of the UK ones, as the tops in the world. Uh,
Mm.
I don't know how solid those rankings are, though, either. Nobody actually goes around to all of them and tries them out. And so they're just a lot of impressions. But still, people do vote with their feet, and they come from far away to study at our top places. So we must be doing something right, at least relative to the others. In terms of Western civilization, I know the popular view now is it's all about oppression and so on. Whereas I see it as a much more successful thing. Rodney Stark's history of Western civilization, he made the argument that Western civilization is the best thing that ever happened to our species. And I think he has a good point that's strongly made, that it's enabled more people to live healthy and happy lives for longer lives and than any other system, and it has certainly done a lot of damage and so on. But it's probably spread much more good than bad, and the technological innovations that enable better medical care and better communication and everything else, they come from this positive society. And you mentioned the Anglosphere. I mean, we have there's England, which was the supreme world power for a while. And then they also started America and Australia and Canada, which are always rated among the nicest countries in the world to live in, and still very influential. Right now, America is probably the peak world power. I have my. It's always hard to judge the present, but there are people who say America's turn as the world's supreme power is probably coming to an end, and there are many crises and problems um, that I think that could lead to a decline. but but we'll have to wait and see. I
Mm.
have to look back at a century and see if this was the peak, if the U.S. is indeed entering into a decline phase. But in many respects, there's still a lot of positive signs and a lot of strength in the country.